We're going to be doing another coffee chat today, mainly on buying guitars from Japan. But before we do that, let me just say a few things. I may be interviewing Top Topham next week, who is the first original guitar player of the Yardbirds. So many of you probably will never have heard of Top Topham, but he was in fact in the first lineup of the Yardbirds. So if you've got any questions for Top, please leave them in the comments here. Also, Top and I will be doing a gig possibly next month in May at the Ain't Nothing But the Blues Club in Piccadilly, Kingly Street. So if you want to come to that, and if you're in London, or if you're in America and you're passing through London, please come and have a beer with Top and I. Say hello, and we're going to be playing the blues for you. You can check all that on the Ain't Nothing But the Blues website, and I'll also put that in the description, the actual date of that gig. So I'm going to be doing my EP, a solo album, and also I've got there's two African albums that I'm producing, so I'm going to be a little bit busy. So I won't be doing many of these coffee chats, if at all, unless you guys want me to continue them, then I will. But at the moment I'm going to be concentrating on the Guitar Greats series, because that's really interesting. I know you guys love that. And also I'm going to be doing some more videos with Bob, because Bob's a great guy. He's sort of developing a fan base on the guitar show. Probably people like him more than they like me, but he's a great guy. He's brilliant at talking about guitars, much better than I am actually. So that's the plan for the future for the guitar show. Thanks for all your support. And like I say, you know, we try to be truthful here, Bob and I. And anyone else, you know, on the show. So, you know, it's just like we can say everything's nice and everything's hunky-dory, or else we can tell you the truth how it really is. And that's kind of the whole aim of this sort of YouTube channel, just really telling you guys how it is, and not a load of BS. So, let me have a swig of my coffee. Fantastic. Right, okay, we're going to be talking about guitar. So, from Japan. Let me tell you about this guitar here. This guitar I bought quite a few years ago, maybe 8 years ago, I'm not sure now, for quite some time. And I'd heard about Navigator guitars. We're going to focus probably on the ESP Navigators, because that's what I kind of know about. You know, I don't really know about Grecos and Momose and Bachaus and all the other kind of makes in Japan. But what I know about Navigator, my experience buying these, hopefully you can relate to other makes that you're a fan of. So anyway, the thing with Navigators is, became a fan, I didn't really know much about them. So I'm going to give you a few tips about Navigators now. The first guitar I bought was this one. I bought it from eBay. It was total luck that this was any good. And I bought it from an agent. He charged me quite a bit of money for this guitar. I think in total I paid about 2,300 or 2,400 pounds. In hindsight, that was actually £1,000 more than I should have paid for it, probably, if I bought it from an auction. But anyway, it turned out amazing, because this was £8.25, and I have a bit of a shoulder problem, so I can't have a guitar over £9. And even if I didn't have a shoulder problem, I don't like I don't like heavy guitars. So this is 8.25. I put these crazy shallow machine heads on it to be a little bit different, and they're so heavy that it's now probably 8.5 pounds, but it's still a great weight. This guitar is the best Les Paul I have ever played, for two reasons. It sounds great and it plays great. I actually sold this guitar, and I managed to buy it back, and the person that is a great guy who sold it back to me wants it back himself. And I think we're just going to be to and froing this guitar to each other, you know. When we're hard up, I sell it to him. When he's hard up, he sells it back to me. Anyway, so that's the deal with this guitar. I'm so happy that I got it. The next guitar, I didn't want to spend 2,500, which was pretty much the same as this one. Bear in mind, if you know anything about Navigators, do not buy, in my personal experience, don't buy anything pre-1997. And we'll go into that in a minute why. So I found a 1998 Navigator. It cost me, I think, £1,400. In fact, one of the agents who I know well, he was actually bidding against me, so he pushed the price up a little bit, which I wasn't too happy about at the time. But anyway, I managed to win the auction because I was, steadfast in getting this guitar, and I got it. And the build quality was actually amazing. And probably I'd say what I call early Navigators, because I'm only interested in Navigators built by ESP from 1997 onwards. Anything before then, I would recommend leave alone, and there's various reasons why, but we don't have enough time in this video. So 1997, 1998, the build quality was incredible, but they got a few of the dimensions wrong, I think. This is a 2012 model, and they've kind of perfected the model. It's more like a vintage Les Paul, and it just rings like a bell, So I think those early ones, they were built like out of granite, but they were really heavy. That one was well over 9 pounds, and it had this big funny neck. It was chunky, but it was too wide. It was like a jazz guitar. It wasn't like a Les Paul. So, and I think a Les Paul's 43 millimeters, and this thing was like 44 and a half. It was crazy. So, and it also didn't ring. It was dead as a dodo. So I got rid of that. So that was a little bit of an expensive learning curve. So what I would say, if you're into Navigator Les Pauls, I'm just going to give you a few tips here. Make sure that they are not heavier than 9 pounds. That's rule number one. Rule number two, find out the cheapest way to get that guitar, because you don't want to be paying £1,000 over the top just because you can't be bothered to do a little bit of research. So the third rule is make sure that it's from 1998 onwards, not before then. And the last rule, make sure that it has limited on the headstock, and it says Navigator. Now you might want to be clever and get something that doesn't say limited, but let me tell you this, you're going to have problems selling it because no one's going to want to touch that. If you know anything about Navigators, I would never buy anything that doesn't say the word limited here, because it means it's a pre-1998 model, and the ones which were post-1998 and didn't have limited on there, those models, some of them can be veneers, some of them can be solid, but they are sprayed with polyurethane lacquer instead of nitrocellulose. And also the wood is not Honduras, it's from Africa, it's African wood, or I don't know where they get their woods from, but it's not Honduras mahogany like the limited model. So that's something you want to really be careful of. That's kind of my rules for me personally to give to a novice person who doesn't really know much about the Navigator guitars. Now as for Greco and Mamos, I know nothing about those makes because I'm not really interested in them, but I guess the same would apply. You need to do a bit of research, find out maybe when the good ones were made, when they got their together. Like Greco, for example, a lot of them, even the higher models, are veneers. They never did solid. Maybe a few of them were solid, but mainly Grecos are veneers, even the higher models are. So go and do your research. Okay, so let's talk about the pros and cons of buying it via Japan, buying it via an auction site, as opposed to buying it from somebody that's brought it over to Europe or America and is going to charge you, like a charge for doing that. If you want to buy a guitar from Japan, you've got a couple of options. Okay, first of all, you can bid on a guitar via the auction site, Yahoo Auctions, or you can go to another site called Digimart and buy the guitars via, on a shop, because in Digimart they've got a list of all the shops that you can buy Navigator, Mamos, and all the kind of Japanese guitars. If the shop says to you, no, they won't ship to Europe, then you can actually use Buyee or Rinkia, especially Rinka. You can go and use them to buy the shop from the shop on Digimart. Don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, I'll put this in the description, the links for Yahoo Auctions, Buyee, Digimart and Rinkia, so it all makes sense. Okay, so say for example you want to bid on a guitar. How do you do it? Well, you go to Buyee, for example, you sign up, give your credit card details, and I've done this myself many times, so it's all safe. Then you go and you can sort of interface Yahoo Auctions, which is all in Japanese, it's not in English, via the interface, the front end on Buyee, and it translates it all into English, and also gives you the price in pounds as well. You can set the currency. So then you can start bidding on a guitar. So I'm going to give you a few rules here. When you're buying a guitar via an auction or a shop or an agent who's already brought it over to Europe or America, you're not going to be able to play that guitar. You don't know if it's dead as a dodo, or you don't know if it just doesn't feel right. So you've got to figure into this purchase that it may be that you do not gel with the guitar, and you're going to have to sell it at some point. So keep that in the back of your mind. So if you want to be clever and get something that doesn't say limited here, or is not a proper Greco model, it's always sort of like an exotic model, but it's not a line, it's not, you know, you're going to have problems selling it, trust me. So you've got to kind of think, okay, I'm going to buy this guitar, I might not like it, so I want to buy a standard model, something that is kind of common, that I can sell easy. You know, I can flip it as soon as I get it back, I can sell it on, you know. So, you know, have that in mind, you know. And that's the same even if you buy from an agent that's already bought a guitar over. You know, think about it as you want a model that's going to be easy to sell. So, for example, in the case of Navigator, a limited model on the headstock, you're not going to have a problem selling it. If it doesn't have limited, you're going to have a problem, because then you're going to have to prove to the buyer who you're trying to sell it to what the model is. You've got no evidence, okay, unless you've got an ESP certificate, but many of them do not come with that certificate. So, little tip for you there. Okay, let's have another swig of coffee, get into this. So, hopefully this is all making sense. So you're going to go to the auction site, you're going to bid on a guitar. You can use your sort of agent, such as Buyee, to email the seller. You can ask him how heavy the guitar is. Okay, that's the number one thing you want to ask, how heavy is it? Secondly, you can ask for some high-res photos. I'm not saying you're going to get them, but you can ask for them, because you want to make sure that there's no breakages on the headstock or the heel of the guitar. And sometimes, you know, as you know from buying on eBay, people can lie and say, no, there's not a break, but you can see on a high-res photo that it's been resprayed. You know, the paint is darker, you know, near the neck joint, you know, where the break on the neck is. You can tell that it's been resprayed. So, you know, if it's a lot of money you're spending out, maybe you want to get some high-res photos, you know. Now, for me personally, I actually like beating up guitars, because I'm going to beat them up myself anyway. So normally, if guitar's got a few dings and dents, it's fine by me, because even just around my house playing it, I play the guitar, I put it down on the table, I don't care if it gets a mark. So for example, this one here, this was obviously owned by some kind of a punk guitar player. This is a Navigator. Now bearing in mind, this is almost a £3,000 instrument, and I picked this one up for maybe £400, £500, so it's an absolute bargain. You know, real bargain. And look, it's been really played in. It rings like a bell. It's one of the best Telecasters I've ever played, and I've played a few, let me tell you. Right, so full disclosure here, guys. Full disclosure. No, I'm not going to hide anything from you. So just make sure this is all a gamble. All of this is going to be a gamble, because you're not going to know until this guitar arrives in your house what condition, if you're going to gel with it, if it's too heavy. You know, there's so many things that go wrong, but I want to give you some hope, because I've actually bought 5 or 6 instruments now from auction, Yahoo auctions, and I've, you know, touch wood, I've never had a problem, you know, with any of them, and I've got great deals, amazing bargains. So anyway, you're bidding on these guitars, and then when you win the guitar, you're going to have to, the auction place pays it first, but normally you set up an automatic payment thing, so then the payment's obviously taken. Then you're going to have the shipping costs. So normally the costs involved using one of these kind of Buyee or sort of things, you're going to have to pay for shipping from the seller to the Buyee's warehouse, their service charge. They're going to repack it into one of their strong boxes, and then they're going to ship it to your address. So there's quite a few costs there involved, and as well, you're not going to be able to tell them to, you know, fake the price of the instrument. So you're going to have to pay customs charges when it comes into England. So you've got to factor in all of those kind of things, you know. And another really important issue that you've got to factor in is the fact that nowadays Japan is really wary of any guitars made of mahogany. Okay, so you've got to be really careful. If the guitar has in the description on this auction site that it's made of mahogany, then Baiyi and Rinkia now won't ship that out of Japan because there's a CITES or something regulation. So there might be a Les Paul advertise, but because it doesn't say anything about mahogany in Japanese or English on the description, then it'll be fine. You can bring it to England or America, wherever you are. But if it says the word mahogany in the description, then that will be flagged up on the Baiyi and Rinkia site, and you won't be allowed to. So you can actually pay for it, and you'll be stuck in Japan, and then you'll have to dispose of it. You'll just lose your money. So that's another thing you've got to be really, really careful of. So then your other option, I guess, is to buy it from a place called Digimart. Digimart is basically a list of all the shops in Japan. The prices are slightly more expensive, obviously, because they're selling it via shop and they need to have their markup. But you can still get some pretty good bargains. Sometimes those shops will sell it to you direct and ship it for you, but sometimes they won't. And if you really want a guitar that they won't ship, then you can use Rinkia to do that for you, so they can kind of act as an agent. There might be a certain model of Greco that you're really, really obsessed about, and you can use Rinkia to get that shot from Digimart over to your place. So that's another solution. And then lastly, we're going to talk about buying not just a Navigator, but any sort of Japanese guitar from an agent. And there's a few different agents in Europe and in America that actually bring guitars over. You can find them on Google. But they, say for example, a Navigator, you could buy a Navigator like this model here, you can buy it for maybe £1,200 to £1,400 on Yahoo Auctions. On Digimart, it might go for more, it might go for £1,600 to £1,800. But the agent will probably charge over £2,000, sometimes £2,500, and even crazier prices. I've seen, like Navigator SG, which I recently bought one for £500. I've seen them go for over 2,000. So that's going to give you a price. If you go to the auction place yourself, you're going to save a lot of money. If you don't have time and you've got loads of money to just throw around, then you can go to an agent and it's all done for you. And I guess the benefits there are, if you want something really mint condition and you don't want any issues, but then you're still going to take the gamble that you might not like the guitar, because you're not, unless you travel to that person and play it in their place, you're actually not going to know if you bond with the guitar. So that's why I'm going to tell you again one more time. If you're buying a guitar, make sure it's a model that you're going to be able to flip easy. Don't buy some rare sort of model you don't really know about. Just because that agent tells you, oh, this is a great guitar, it's really special. Yeah, who cares? When you come to sell that guitar, you're going to be hanging on to that guitar for years because nobody wants it, If you're going to buy a Navigator, for example, the only model that you want to be buying is one which is made after 1998 and it has limited model on the headstock. Otherwise, do not touch it with a barge pole, in my opinion. Okay, that's my opinion. Obviously, Greco, Mimos, those kind of experts on those guitars, you're going to know, what to look out for as well. So hopefully this has given you some advice about buying guitars from Japan. I bought 5 guitars. No, I bought 6. Have I bought 6? Yeah, 6 that I've actually kept. Guitars, and these guitars are absolutely incredible. I'm so happy I bought them. The best deal I think I ever got was I bought a guitar made of Carina wood. So I'm going to tell you about this guitar here. This is probably the best deal I ever got buying a guitar from Japan. This guitar, I got it, I won't tell you actually what I paid for it, but I paid next to nothing. This guitar new would have probably cost over £3,300, maybe £3,500 new. Totally handmade. It's a beautiful instrument. It's incredible to play, and it's one of my favourite guitars. And I bought this for next to nothing, So, and that's because I bid it on an auction site. So you can get some amazing deals on the auction using Baiyi and Rinkia. Okay, let me know if you like these coffee chats. I certainly do. So I'll be back soon with another coffee chat or rant or whatever. I don't think they'll be gone forever, but I will take a little bit of a break. So, thanks for watching this video. Let me know anything you want me to talk about in the future. But until then, I just want to say, guys, stay cool, yeah? Just stay cool, keep playing the guitar, and try to avoid the BS. don't play too many pedals. Keep your pedal boards nice and small. Don't buy too many guitars, and just think about the music. It's all about the music. It's all about learning the guitar. Yeah, just keep those kind of things in focus. And you don't need a great pedal. It's all in your fingertips. That's where it's at. It's all in your fingertips. So keep it real, and just keep playing. And we're going to catch up soon, guys. Yeah. So you've been amazing. See you soon. Take care.